Well, hey there. Today we're in the studio with Kenzie, and we're talking about how to start your own student mentoring group using the resources at Pursue God. So Kenzie, why don't you just start by telling us, what is a student group? What does it look like for you?
So for me, it's like 3 or 4 girls, and they're about 2 to 3 years younger than me, and we meet about every other week, and we just choose a topic and work through it together.
Is it really hard?
No, it's super easy and really fun.
Okay. Is it awkward when you get together with your student group?
The first couple times it was kind of awkward just because I didn't really know any of them.
Yeah.
But we've been going for about a year now, and we're just all like best friends.
That's great. So once you power through the first couple of meetings, it's good after that.
Yep.
All right. So let's talk through. You've got 5 steps for us, for people out there, if you want to get one started. Anyone who's a Christian can start a student group. And so we're going to talk through the 5 steps. What's step number 1?
So step number 1 is to get trained. So for me, I know my parents worked me through the mentor training on the Pursue God website. But if you don't have that ability, you could have maybe a youth leader or maybe someone who mentored you before to take you through that.
Okay, good. And so we'll put a link to mentor training. It's just a 3-lesson series that just kind of goes through, here's how to use the tools, here's how to do mentoring with the tools in your student group. So good. So number 1, get trained. All right, so someone gets trained. What's the second step?
So the second step is to invite people to be in your group.
Okay, so how did you've got how many girls in your group?
3 or 4, depending on the
Okay,
week.
so how did you come up with who to invite?
So my parents really helped me out with this, but I just had a list in my mind kind of girls 2 to 3 years younger than me in the church who I thought could really look up to me and use my advice from my experience from their age group.
And you didn't even really know these girls super well at first? So your mom calls their moms, said, hey, Kenzie's going to start a student group. Here's how it works. We'd love for your girls to be a part of it. So that was one way to do it. Maybe for you out there, if you're in a youth group, your youth pastor might help get you connected. Maybe you know some people in your neighborhood, maybe your younger sibling. So figure out who to invite will take maybe just a little bit of thought and prayer. And you might want to get some other people involved, students, to help you think through who to invite. Let me just ask another question on this topic real quick. So what about someone out there that wants to team up with someone to start a co-leading a student group, right? So for you, you have 3 or 4 girls in your group right now because you're just doing it by yourself. But what about if you had a friend of yours co-lead it? That might make people feel a little more comfortable. What would you recommend then?
Yeah, that'd be great. I know in the first couple weeks I probably would have loved having someone with me.
Yeah.
But I think that's great if you guys both have a list of maybe people you want to invite and then just kind of tag teaming it.
So a student group, a good rule of thumb is a few people per leader, right? So if your group's got, 3 or 4 girls that you've got, and that's great. That's a pretty full student group. But if you're going to co-lead with someone, then maybe your group can have 6 to 8 girls in it, or guys in it. That's great. All right. So step number 1, get trained. Step number 2, invite a few. What's step number 3?
Step number 3 is schedule it.
Okay.
So for my group, we meet every other week on Sundays because we all have sports and school and stuff, so that's the best night that works for us.
Yeah. How do you okay, so was that hard for you to figure out? You've got 3 or 4 girls in your group. When can we all get together?
Yeah. That was definitely hard because we all play sports. We're all in school, so Sunday nights work the best for us. And I would also recommend going through the parents because my girls can't drive, so talking to the parents is the best way just to kind of count on them to make sure that they're there.
Okay, so that's good. So then when you schedule it, you do Sunday nights. So how do you let your girls know that and you do every other week. So how do you let your girls know, hey, it's our week? When do you text them? Do you email them? Do you face tweet them? What do you do?
Yeah, I text them. And also the first couple weeks of the month, I'll try to sit down with them at one of our meetings and just kind of say, okay, we'll meet on this day, and just kind of give them a heads up just so they're ready for it.
What if they don't come? What if you schedule it and most of the girls don't show up?
That's definitely happened to me a few times.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to build one-on-one relationships too, so maybe only one girl will show up, and that's awesome. You can just talk to her and get to know her.
Okay, so it's not a total loss if the whole group doesn't show up?
No.
Okay, that's good. All right, step number 4, what's the 4th step?
So the 4th step is to make it fun.
Okay.
So We normally try to change things up in my group. Most of the time we'll meet at like Starbucks because all girls love Starbucks. And around this time of year, we've done this for the past 2 years. We make gingerbread houses, which is really fun, and we just try to change it up.
Okay, so your meeting itself, when you get how long do you typically meet for when you get together with your student group?
If we're just meeting at like a Starbucks, it'll be about an hour just because we can get right down to talking.
Okay.
But if we're doing like gingerbread houses or something fun, we'll go for like an hour and a half to 2 hours just to make sure.
And so it's important then in those cases to mix in some fun activities.
Yeah.
So it's not all like hardcore Bible study. You're mixing in some relational fun stuff. And then at the end of the day though, you're getting down to mentoring, and that's your fifth tip. What is that?
Yeah, so the 5th tip is the flex method.
Okay.
So every week before I send out the text to invite girls, I'll go through one of the websites and choose a video.
Okay.
And they'll all watch it before they come, so then they're ready to talk about it when we meet.
So you pick the flex, and we'll put more on the flex method, but it's the simple 3-step method for mentoring. So you find a topic, then you send it out to everybody so they can learn about it on their own. It's just a 5-minute video. And then when you get together, you have a conversation over it. And that's the basic idea.
Yep.
Do your girls all show up having watched the video?
Not all the time. Sometimes they're like, well, I couldn't get internet, or there's things that come up, they're too busy. But if that happens, sometimes, most of the time, at least one person does. So I'll have them kind of summarize it. Or if no one has watched it, then we can all watch it together.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And then you get into the conversation. Now there's discussion questions with each of the topics. Do you always try to hit all of the discussion questions, or how does that work?
Well, for my girls, we get off topic really easy. So maybe we'll start with one question, then we'll kind of derail. So then I'll try to kind of ask questions along those lines just to keep it going, and then we can come back. But most of the time, I don't ask all the questions.
Okay. That's good. And we'll put another video below this on how to do the flex method, especially with student groups, because I think it can be a little bit different than like with adults. I think there's some tips that we'll go through in another video. But I think that's really helpful. So for now, you guys have what you need. If you're watching this with a mentor or with a youth pastor or small group leader, use the questions below to talk about what we've been talking about here. And more than anything, I just encourage you, if Kenzie can do it, you can do it. Get out there, start a student group. It's not hard, and it really will help you to grow in your own Christian faith. So check out the questions below, talk about it, and we'll see you in the next video.